Hi, I'm Frank Jimenez with the BuilderAll team. In this video, you will learn how to set up a simple webinar funnel inside Cheetah. Let's get started. Here we have the webinar funnel blueprint. So first, in order to have a successful webinar, you're going to need traffic. Your traffic source will enter the funnel through your webinar registration page. Here is where you will explain the content of your webinar and even introduce key presenters as well as anything else you would like to highlight. Now, your client will then register by entering key pieces of information into the registration page, at which time he or she will be redirected to the confirmation page. So this page is key. You can have a video thanking them for registering. You can also provide additional details about what they can expect, as well as summarize your story in about 2 minutes. As you can see, I also labeled this reminders or the indoctrination page, because let's say someone else registers weeks before your webinar. You're going to want to add an indoctrination page into your email sequences. That will remind them the value of your event by adding an important message for them to want to make sure they tune into your scheduled event. Next, you have your broadcast page, also known as the live webinar. This is what people have been waiting for. So you'll create this page and set it up and go live from either this page or a specific page created by your host. Now here, you're going to want to offer a webinar replay page, really depending on your goals and what you're looking to achieve here. Now this webinar replay can be set up to replay at certain scheduled times. It's really dependent on you. Now again, this is a simple blueprint on creating a webinar funnel. Now let's go inside Cheetah and set these pages up. Alright, so here I am inside my webinar funnel website, and these are the different pages that I have that make up my actual webinar funnel. So I'm going to have my home page, which is my webinar registration page. Then I have my webinar confirmation page, webinar live or my broadcast page, and then my webinar replay page. Now, an additional page that I think you definitely would want to add is going to be the webinar indoctrination page. Now, your webinar indoctrination page will basically be a page that you insert in your email sequences, reminding people of the importance of your actual event. Now, it could be a video, it could be pictures, it could be many different things. But you're going to want to maybe include this webinar indoctrination page several times inside your sequence of emails, just to remind people the value, again, that you're offering them. Next, you're going to want to decide how you're going to want to host your webinar. So for this example, I've gone in to the BuilderAll webinar builder, and I've created an event going through all of these different steps and stages, and then inserted them inside my webinar funnel. Let's go take a look. So here's my webinar registration page. What's so super cool about setting up your webinar is that you don't have to be that creative. All you have to do is just simply go over here, select Add, go to Panels, and then just go down to W for webinars. And you're going to see pretty much all of the pages that you need. You're going to have webinar confirmation, webinar indoctrination, webinar registration page, and webinar replay. And again, these can serve just as simple templates where you can go in and make them your own. So you can drag them in here just as I did, and then make the adjustments to your liking. Now here, I have my sign-up form that was generated through the BuilderAll Webinar Builder. Once I've created and followed all those steps, it created a form that I could simply add into an iframe. So if I right-click here, it's going to open up the iframe properties, and here is where I went in and I embedded the URL from the webinar setup, and it's all set. So it has my date of the event, it has how many free seats I have available out of 50 participants, it asks for the name and email, and then once they select subscribe, everything is captured. Now if you're going to be hosting a webinar outside of BuilderAll and you're using a different tool, then you'll have to still attach your mailing boss form into your area here where they can sign up. So the only thing I've done differently here was I went in, and let me show you how I did this. I went to Add, I went to Elements, and then I went down to Email Marketing Form, and I dragged this in here. And as soon as you drag it in here, it's going to ask you to attach a pre-made mailing list. Okay, so for this example, if I select the gear icon here, if I select the gear icon, these are the different mailing lists that I have. So I selected Webinar June event and I selected Save. Okay. Now what you have to do is simply go to right click, Set Link, and just set these. So here we go. Subscribe pending. Where do you want to direct them to? You can go in here, select page, and then you can go straight to the confirmation page. Same thing with subscription confirmed. You can again select your page and then go to webinar confirmation. And you don't have to put an action there if you don't want, just really depends on you. And there you go, we're set. So again, these are the different options that you have, right? Again, if you're going to use the webinar builder, or if you're going to use an external webinar service and you still want to capture that information so that you can include your webinar indoctrination page. All right, so next let's head over to the confirmation page. So here's the webinar confirmation page. Looks very similar. Again, when I went to add and I went to panels and I selected webinar confirmation page, this is the tool that it gave me. Now the important thing here is that you have to have a thank you video plan. All right, so here is your webinar confirmation page. Here's your webinar confirmation page. When your visitor arrives here, this is where you're going to want to maybe play a thank you video and let them really know the content. Now here's your webinar confirmation page. When your visitors arrive here, it's important that they capture the message and the idea and really get sold into the reason. Now this is your webinar confirmation page. This is really key. Here is where you may want to create a thank you page, thanking them for registering, looking forward to seeing them at your event, and also creating value. You want to try to make this short, sweet, and to the point. Now here is a really key important part of setting up your confirmation page, and this is your countdown. So all you have to do, if you grab this from the template, your countdown should already be here. If you don't, and you want to create this from scratch, just simply go to Add, go to Elements, and go down to Timers, and select your timer, drag it in. Now don't forget that when you set your webinar, you set it for a specific day and a specific time. Well, you can set your timers to do that exact same thing. All you have to do is right click here, your timer, general settings, specific date. Here's where you can select the type of counter you want. So I want it to count down to a specific date. So I've selected June 17, 2020. 11 o'clock is the hour and 0 is the minutes. So that's what's happening right here. And then once you've set this, you're going to right click here, go to link. Now once that timer hits 0, where do you want them to go? I want them to go to my page, Webinar Live. They will then be redirected to your broadcast page. So this is your broadcast page. So it's really going to depend on how you set this all up. Again, everything is done for me. All I have to do is go into the webinar, the BuilderAll webinar tool, grab the coding. This is one big iframe. So if I right click on here and I go into the properties, it's going to give me two options. I can embed a URL or I can embed the iframe. And that's what I chose or decided to do. Here you can have a simple call to action. Now what is super cool about the webinar builder is that when you're going through and playing your video, you can have a call to action while they're watching the video. You'll have pop-up links where your visitors can actually click on. It could take them to wherever it is the call to action was set to take them. You can also simply just add a button down here and you're set. And then lastly, you have your webinar replay page. After you've gone live, you could just insert that link here. Now, depending on if you have this replay video playing in intervals is why you might want to use a timer. It's entirely up to you, again, with the call to action button right here to get you going. Now, I want to show you this page here, which is your indoctrination page. Now, your indoctrination page is super important because, again, when your day's out before your webinar, let's say I registered today, right? And your webinar isn't until June 17th, right? There's still some time in between. If there's 11 or 12 days, you have got to set your email sequences to be able to send an email out with a page included, with a message inside that page. Just as long as you continue to carry out the value and show why it's important for them to attend your live broadcast. And that is how you set up a basic webinar funnel inside Cheetah. In this video, we went through the webinar funnel blueprint. You'll learn how to set up your webinar registration page, your webinar confirmation page, your broadcast and your replay pages, as well as the importance of creating an indoctrination page to add to your email sequences so that you can remind your attendees the value your webinar offers so that they are sure to attend. If you want to learn more about the webinar builder inside Builderall, be sure to search it inside the knowledge base. I hope you found the content in this video helpful. I'm Frank Jimenez with the Builderall team.